Welcome to Thursday. We're almost done with the week. In fact, I've for years chosen to take Fridays and Saturdays as family days. Doesn't always happen. So today is my Friday, I guess, if you will. And of course, our offices are closed on Fridays these days for a variety of reasons, but a lot of it is just helpful and handy. And so this is our Friday here at the office. So anyway, we are looking forward to Sunday. Be sure to go to fbccrowley.org. You see it down here at the bottom and get your seat reservation. Not required, but encouraged. It does help us to contact Trace and to make sure that if there is any issues that we can contact those that we need to contact. Yes, you can just sign it up as you walk in. It just helps us if you do it ahead of time. It's not hard. It's really pretty easy. But if you'd go ahead and do that today, that just helps us get prepared for Sunday. Later on today, you will get an email with a update in it. Our weekly update should go out today after a while. Hopefully around lunch. So we'll see how that goes. So today, the Barrett nomination hearings are coming to an end. In fact, today's not even including her. It's going to be about her, but not with her. Judge Barrett has spent the last 3 days under questioning from the Senate Judiciary Committee as they have asked her a wide-ranging number of questions along with personal speeches given to her. Anyway, I'm not sure why some felt like they needed to do that. Just ask the questions you need to ask. Some were critically important questions. Some questions were really out of left field, and I had no idea why they even asked such questions. Senator Cruz, if you're listening to me right now, please help me understand why you felt the need to ask the questions you did when you had such an important stage on which to ask them. Anyway, the elections are approaching. In fact, early voting is starting this week. It's already happening. Have you voted? Who's voted? If you voted, let me know. I haven't yet. I'm going to go do it next week. I'm going to find some time where I can take an entire afternoon and go stand in line and exercise my civic duty and to vote. Hopefully the lines may subside just a little bit by next week, and that would be great. So much of the news right now is being overwhelmed by the Senate hearings with Judge Barrett, election issues and scandals and, Biden this and Trump that. Did you see what Trump tweeted? Did you see what Hunter did? Oh, what about this email? And, oh, can you believe that, this and that? Didn't wear a mask. He did wear a mask. Hey, he had a crowd. Oh, he didn't. I mean, it is so absolutely crazy. But here's the thing. This year is largely about leadership. It's about leadership. And what I find interesting is among many people, it's how they're going to lead more than who is going to lead. Many people are more concerned, are you going to follow my agenda? Are you going to follow our agenda? Can we lobby you? Can we sway you? Can we develop you? We don't care who it is. We really don't, many people anyway, really don't care who the person is. They just want to know, how are you going to lead? Is it going to be left wing, right wing, middle road? Are you going to be all over the board? Are you going to be straight line this way or that way? And the second thing that I find interesting is that many people are very concerned, where will we go under your leadership? Doesn't really matter where we have been. Now, I can get on board with that to some degree. I think far too often we look behind more than we look ahead. And we in the church are the worst about this. We are so fascinated with how things used to be that we forget to even engage in how things are today. And it's so critically important. I mean, there was a time where, and this is what I find interesting. There was a time when people, such as myself, would stand up and say, hey, we need help in this area. People would just start showing up and helping. They'd go and help, and they would show up and say, I don't know how to do it, but show me how to do it. I want to help. But today we ask the question for help and there's just crickets. I don't understand. It's just church life is odd today. We're an odd bird right now, and it's strange and it's weird and it's joyful and frustrating all at the same time. It's just the way life is. And I am certain of one thing. We have houses of worship across America filled with consumers when we need contributors. Jesus didn't say, hey, are you interested in me? No, what did he say? When he walked the beaches and he found Andrew and Peter and he found James and John, he didn't stop and say, hey, are you interested? No, he said, come follow me. That speaks of movement. It speaks of development. It speaks of change. It means leave where you are, go where I want you to go. Go with me someplace. In fact, if you look at the early Christians, they weren't even called Christians yet. And when they were, it was a negative term. But the people of the way. Now, see, Christian's a noun. It's a label. It's something that describes. It's a descriptive term. People of the way is also descriptive, but what's the difference? What's the difference? One is static and one is dynamic. Did you catch that? I'm a Christian. What does that even mean? I'm a people of the way. That at least ascribes a certain amount of movement and progression. I'm following Jesus. In fact, some of my lingo and language has changed over the course of time, from trying to say I'm a Christian, which has a lot of unpacked baggage on board with that statement, to I follow Christ. Now, yes, it's semantics, sure. To those that are steeped in tradition and steeped in theology and steeped in the church, you understand there really is no difference between the two, except that I can say I'm a Christian and don't do anything. I'm a follower of Christ. At least it begins to beg the question, where am I going with that? Am I moving with that? Am I doing something with that? And this was James's big deal. You could say you have faith. That's awesome. I'm a Christian. But what do you do with it? And what are you doing with it? I mean, this is the larger question. In the context in which we live today, we cannot continue to do things the way that they were done and expect to reach tomorrow's. I can't take yesterday's practices to reach tomorrow's people. Now, the gospel never changes, but my practices from yesterday need to be adjusted in order to reach people today. Titus was in our reading this week. If you are on the reading plan with us that you can find at fbccrowley.org, click on the links in the menu and it will take you there. You can get the Bible reading plan. If you're in a D group, which I highly encourage you, if you're ready to go deeper, if you're ready to get real, if you're ready to get honest, if you're ready to let the Bible really start affecting your life, get in the D group. I encourage it. We're going to start signups here in the next few weeks. This is something that runs January to December in a group of 4 to 6 individuals, where you read scripture together through the week, and then you meet once a week and you discuss it. You talk about it. What did God say to me this week? How is God changing me this week? Hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you pray with me over this? It's awesome time. It's a wonderful time. But if you're ready to move forward, get in a D group. Now, where was I going with that? The reading plan. Today in the reading plan, I was reading Titus 1, 2, and 3, the whole book. It's only 3 chapters. It's like 2 pages in my Bible. It's not very long. You can do it. I'm sure of it. But I was reading Titus, and Titus has always been an interesting book. It's largely overlooked in a lot of things because, we tend to gravitate toward Romans, or we gravitate outside of the Gospels anyway. We gravitate toward Romans or Philippians or Ephesians or Hebrews, or many people are obsessed with Revelation. But Titus is an interesting little book. It's another one of those books where I call it a book. It's a letter, honestly. It's a letter that Paul wrote to Titus. And here Paul is again being a mentor to a young leader, and he is expressing his concern over some things and saying, look, I left you on Crete to do two things. Basically, that's what he says in chapter 1, verse 5. I left you on Crete. I need you to do two things. I need you to establish leaders who will develop leaders. Now, he called them elders. Now, for all my Baptist friends, don't freak out. Don't have a heart attack. I know I use the awful word that Baptists don't like to hear in elders, but it's nothing more than a leader. It's a leader. It's a spiritual leader. It's a spiritual guide. Paul says, look, I left you there to establish in every town on the island. Every town on the island needs an elder. It needs a leader. It needs a spiritual guide. I need you to establish those, and I need them to be developing others, because they are, as he will express later in his letter, we're to be an example. We aren't just to get up and expound. We are to live the life and be an example in the good and the bad. I mean, I'm not great at this thing every day. I have my moments. I have my days. I have my days, and sometimes they're great and they're wonderful, and some days are a stress and they feel fractured, and at the end of the day, you're just done with the day. I mean, some of us, sometimes it's like that. It's like it for everybody. But he said, I need you to establish elders in every community, and I need them to be developing other people as well. And the second thing I left you on that island to do is to encourage the people. Now, here's where it gets a little messy, because when you and I hear the word, I want you to encourage, what we love to think about in that word is puff me up, pump me up, make me feel better, say good things about me, tell me feed me tacos and tell me I'm pretty. I mean, this kind of idea of just make everything sound rosy and wonderful and good. And yet, Paul will tell Titus in this letter, sometimes that also means that you need to sharply rebuke them. What? Yes, you need to call them out. Sometimes you need to stand up, open the word of God, and just call them out for how they're acting, for how they're behaving. It's not always about telling them how pretty they are. It's also telling them how awful they are in this regard, in the stupid decision they made, and how things have to change. That's encouragement too. It's not the fun kind. It's not the kind that we like. I've always found it interesting how some people react on their way out of church. It's been interesting to note when I preach a message that is encouraging in the way that it's helpful, or it's just hopeful, whatever. People will exit and they'll have, that was great, wonderful, fine. But if I will stomp and snort and scream and holler and tell them how awful they are, some people really like that. And to me, that's weird. But some people like it, and I'm like, whatever, oh man, you really stomped on my toes today, preacher. And it's almost as if they come to church to expect that. Well, maybe we're supposed to do that sometimes. I mean, Titus is told you got to rebuke them. I mean, chapter 1, verse 13, for this reason, rebuke them sharply. Now, that's not talking about the people that are rebellious. He's saying rebuke them so that they may be sound in the faith, that they won't pay attention to those that are rebelling. They won't pay attention to the endless genealogies and the Jewish myths and the commands of people that reject the truth. Rebuke them. Don't even look this way. Well, I understand that. So sometimes we get the hope, and sometimes we get the hurt. But both are important. But here's the thing. Titus was left to establish leadership and to encourage the people. So here's the thing that I find interesting. Down in chapter 3 and verse 14, it says, "Let our people learn to devote themselves to good works for pressing needs so that they will not be unfruitful." So they won't be unfruitful. What does that mean? What it means is that we in leadership need to be helping people understand to take personal responsibility, so that when there are needs, they get met. But that means that we're going to have to move from a consumer stance to a contributor stance. I'm going to have to stop coming to church and asking myself, what's in it for me as you mature? Hey, now there are those that are not as far along on their journey with Jesus. They're not as far along in their maturity spiritually, and they still may be wrapped up in this. But for some who are further along, it's time for us to stop wondering what's in it for me. It's time for us to stop sitting back and expecting everybody to beg us to do something. Get in, get involved, contribute something. We have so many things going on that we could use help. Well, I don't know how to do that. We'll train you. We'll show you. But we need to be involved not only in what might some call self-serving needs in our own church body, but we also need to be stepping up and stepping out and leading our classes and leading our small discussion groups out back into our community to do good in our community, to love our community well. Because let us not forget, we're not a country club that people want to come join. We're a hospital where we should be helping. And we need to be taking the ambulances out from this building to the buildings around us and helping the hurt and the brokenhearted to bind their wounds and to heal their hearts. I think Jesus said that. In fact, I think it was one of his very first sermons that he said, I am the one to do that. And as a follower of Christ, now we are the ones who get to go do that. We get to be a spiritual first responder in our community. And maybe we get to be a first responder to be then a spiritual first responder. Maybe we need to be a family disaster relief help in order to have a spiritual family disaster relief help. Maybe we get to be a community helper, a community leader, a community developer, so that then we can help them find the larger context of community. But we're not going to have them find the larger context of community until we get involved in the smaller context of community. It's time, my friends. It's time. It's time to move from consuming to contributing. It's time as we approach the fall and we enter into a new year. It's going to be the year of connection, connecting to our community, connecting to the larger world context around us, making those connections so that we can make the Christ connections as well. I hope and pray that you'll join me in this process. I hope and pray that you'll join me in this movement as we move from a noun to a verb, and we be the church that God has always intended us to be on this corner of the world. See you guys on Sunday. Have a great day.